Hey, it's Domain Dave from cheapwinefinder.com. Welcome to another podcast. And we have a wine that it's been a while. I mean, it's been in the stores for a little bit and I haven't checked it out. And Trader Joe's wines are kind of stagnant and there wasn't anything new. And this was like the only one I hadn't hit. Though I have hit this one, that's another story. Trader Joe's Grand Reserve Carneros Pinot Noir 2020, Lot 23. This is their 12th edition. They've been doing the same wine, I think, from the same producer, from the same vineyards. They don't explicitly say that, but they imply that because, well, one, the lot number is the same, and they've been going on 12 years, so there has to be a source that is stable. And one of the funny things is that we, cheapwinefinder.com, and actually me, we wrote a review of the 2009 Grand Reserve Carneros Pinot. I think the first one 12 years ago. And I put a link to that on the website, cheapwinefinder.com. And I was pleased to see that it wasn't too embarrassing. Anytime you go back 12 years and see what you're doing, it could be, cringe-inducing. I was just as bad as I am now, so there you go. Took a sip. And when I first bought this, I wasn't thinking in terms of this being a steady Carneros Pinot Noir for 12 whole years. Now, Carneros is two valleys. One valley is in the Napa County, one valley is in Sonoma County. It's on the San Pablo Bay, which is east of Oakland. These are kind of inland. There's not that many Pinot Noir locations that far in. But because of the San Pablo Bay, it's all cool. It gives it cool weather. It's got really great soil. They specialize in Pinot Noir and Chardonnay, and they might even be better at Chardonnay than they are at Pinot Noir, and they're great at Pinot Noir. So I was thinking, because of COVID, there's a lot of restaurants and what have you, higher end wines that aren't being made, aren't being sold. And I thought, then I found out this is like 12 years. And it went up. Well, that doesn't mean they have to use the same exact grapes every year. I mean, that's something that you can, things can change because we don't really know. We don't know who the producer is. There's like 20 wineries in Carneros, and I think there's 8,000 acres of vineyards, which is a good amount. They grow a good amount of grapes. And not as big as some areas, but good. So it doesn't have to be, so every year doesn't have to be exactly the same, which is my point. And, and I don't know this, I'm not saying that it is, but it's 14.5 in alcohol. The one thing I didn't like about it is that the alcohol is a bit high, and it wasn't that it was too hot. Sometimes a wine with too much alcohol can bite, it's, that wasn't it. But it gave it a little bit too much body. For this style of Pinot Noir, it needs to back the alcohol off, back the body off, and let the flavors and the textures kind of flow a little bit. So I wasn't crazy about the 14.5, but it's $12.99, and you can't complain. If it was a $30 Pinot Noir from Carneros from a known winery, it would be like, hey, you guys should have pick sooner or pick the grapes sooner or something. But at $12.99, it's fine. I mean, don't go looking for because it doesn't bite. It doesn't do that. It just has a little bit more body than this style really needs. So I'm gonna take another sip because it still tastes great. But still, my point is that with all the craziness that has gone on in the last 2 years in the wine industry, is this an upgrade from maybe a year or two ago? Because it can be. Because if they got grapes to get rid of, in a good year when everything's selling, what falls down to Trader Joe's might be less than in a bad year when things didn't sell, and there's grapes left over on a higher level for them anyway. I mean, not that there's good grapes and bad grapes, but maybe grapes that came into this may have been in a wine that was maybe a higher price at some point. Like, again, I can't be sure. They don't tell you. But it's one of those things where you see a wine, at one of these shops, so it's Trader Joe's, these custom brands. That is always a possibility. And here here's another thing about it. I was reading a quote from Cameron Hughes. Cameron Hughes is a negotiant, a very successful negotiant. Cameron Hughes Wines, I think he's onto another project, but he buys excess wine from different companies and sells them. He is so good at it that he sells better than the wineries do. I can remember one time he had a wine that sold out like in a month and a half. And typically with negotiate wines, the wineries don't say who made it. And the winery's going, hey, that wine that sold out in a month, that's us. You can buy it from us. It's a little bit more, but he was so good at selling that he was beating the regular wineries. And what he said is the dark truth of wine, and I'm paraphrasing here because I don't have it written down in front of me, is that wine is cheap to make. It's expensive to sell. And places like Trader Joe's are less expensive to sell than a wine shop. There's less fingers in the pie. They pay up front for the wine. They don't do advertising. They don't do a lot of that. They cut their distribution costs down. They also have food that also, at the store and people buy, that factors into the profit of what they can charge and what they can't charge. So when you see a wine that might be a little bit inexpensive, it's not a cheap wine at Trader Joe's, or Aldi or Costco, or even in the local place that has a wine that they have made for them. Just because the price isn't right doesn't mean it's not a good wine. It means the cost structure is different. So what is this? I mean, most Carneros Pinot Noirs are $20 to $40. I don't know, but it's good. It's got that funky Pinot thing, and it's fun to drink, and it doesn't cost what a Carneros Pinot Noir is. So that's it for me. Like us where you like your podcast, if you will. Stay safe, stay warm. What else do I have to say? Oh, yeah, we're still doing the Valentine's Day thing next week. So stay safe, stay healthy, adios, keep it cheap, and goodbye.